do. But these town hall Q&As are a really important way and part of how we run the company and the community at Facebook, right? Because for many years, every week inside the company, we've had a Q&A with employees where people can just raise any question they want. They ask hard questions, they give us feedback, and it's a good opportunity for me to hear from people about what they're thinking about. So we recently started doing this for our community as well, and have been traveling to a lot of places around the world to hear from our community. And India has 130 million people who use Facebook. It's the second biggest country. So it's really important, I think, to have a chance to hear from all of you today and hear what you're thinking about. And we'll probably get some ideas for how we can make Facebook a better service. So thank you guys. I really appreciate all of you guys coming out here today to have this dialogue. Now, before we get started, there's one topic that I want to touch on, and that's, as we were flying in to Delhi, I received word that there was this terrible earthquake, right? And it's centered in Afghanistan, but also affected people in Pakistan. And our team who was on the ground here and a lot of my friends here sent me notes saying that we could feel the whole place shake for a minute. And it's moments like these when it's so important for people to be able to come together and to know what's going on with the people that you love. Right? We often talk about our mission at Facebook as helping people connect, and a lot of times people think about that as sharing photos or simple things that are going on throughout your day. But when there's a disaster, it's all you want to know is whether the people that you love are safe. And one of the things that I'm really happy about is we activated the safety check tool that we have for the community on Facebook, and already more than 3 million people have marked themselves as safe, and more than 150 million people in the community have been notified that their friends and loved ones are safe from the impact of the earthquake. So I really appreciate all the effort that people have gone to make sure that they tell their friends and that their loved ones can hear that they're safe. And this is just another thing that our community does that I think is pretty important in the world. So we're continuing to think about everyone who was hurt and was affected by this crisis, and we'll be doing more to try to help out. All right. We'll get started with some questions.
Thanks. Question time. So we receive literally thousands of questions to your postmark, and there are a bunch of questions which have been selected from that thread. Some of those people are here in person to ask you those questions. The bunch of students who sent in questions when they registered to join the town hall, and we will take some of those questions from there. And then there are some questions which we will take from the live audience. So I know nobody is shy, so please put up your hand and I'll come to you. So we have our first questioner here, Ankit.
Hi, Mark.
Hey.
Myself, Alki Jain, and I'm a chartered accountant by profession. So my question is very simple. And why are you showing so much interest in India? Answer honestly.
So our mission is to give everyone in the world the power to share what's important to them and to connect every person in the world. And India is the world's largest democracy. It's one of the biggest countries where if you really have a mission of connecting every person in the world, you can't do that without helping to connect everyone in India. So we think about this in two ways. First, there are already more than 130 million people in India who use Facebook. It is one of the largest communities that we have across the world, and we take our responsibility to serve the people in India who are already using Facebook and WhatsApp, which is also in our family of products. We take that very seriously. So having the ability to hear and talk to people and hear what they need from us and what we're doing well or what we're doing that we can improve and need to do better, that's a huge thing that we need to do for our community. The second part is that there are 1 billion people in India who do not have access to the internet yet. And if what you care about is connecting everyone in the world, then you can't do that if there are so many people who don't even have access to basic connectivity. Now, everyone here probably has access to the internet in some capacity, and when you've had it for a while, you start to take it for granted. You think about it as maybe it's something that I can use to get access to entertainment or some basic communication tools. But it's easy to forget that if you haven't had access to the internet, it's really a tool that provides some vital infrastructure for your life, right? I mean, it can provide educational information for people who don't have access to good schools. It can provide health information on how to take care of your child or avoid diseases for people who don't have access to good doctors or health infrastructure. It can provide access to job listings for people who live in poorer villages where the economy isn't very strong. So the research has shown on this that for every 10 people who get access to the internet, about one person gets a new job, a job is created, and about one person gets lifted out of poverty. So there's just a tremendous opportunity in India, right? If there are a billion people who are not connected, then this is one of the biggest opportunities, I think, to help develop the economy here and to help alleviate poverty and really lift up a lot of folks. And it's easy to talk about this as something that will be important for India, but I actually think that connecting people in India is one of the most important things that we can do for the whole world, right? Because it's not just improving the lives of people here that getting access to the internet will have. It's also that there are all these ideas that entrepreneurs and students have here that the rest of the world doesn't have access to today, because those people don't have the ability to share what they know, right, in their experience. All the things that entrepreneurs and students could produce if they had access to these tools. Everyone around the world, not just in India, but every other person in the world is currently robbed of that opportunity because folks don't have the opportunity that they need here to create the companies or opportunities that they want. So that's why I care about it. We have a large community of people here. It's the second biggest community that we have in the world, and we care deeply about serving that well and giving everyone the best tools that we can to help people share everything that they want. And we really want to get the next billion people online. And if we can play a role in either of those things, then that's something that I personally care a lot about. And that's why I'm so excited to be here.
Our next question is from you, Ankita.
Yeah. Hi, Mark. Welcome to India.
Hey, thank you.
I am Ankita, and I am with the Railways, and I am also a sports person. So I need to ask you that although we are 130 million users here, how do you wish to connect with those who are not on FB or who don't even have any access to internet? Yes.
Yeah, this is the key question, right? So if I just talked a bit about why I thought connecting everyone to the internet was important, I think what you're asking about is kind of how you do this, right? How do you get a billion people onto the internet and to improve their lives in that way? And the first thing that I'd say is just we can look at the efforts that we've had with internet.org and our other programs around the world and here in India. Internet.org is we've had this program to spread internet connectivity. It is live in more than 24 countries and growing around the world. And here's a new stat that we haven't shared before, is there are 15 million people around the world who have access to the internet now because of the efforts that we're taking with internet.org, who wouldn't have had it otherwise. And if you believe these stats that we've seen that show that for every 10 people who get access to the internet, there's a new job is created and a person is lifted out of poverty, then connecting 15 million people to the internet around the world is that's a pretty good impact. So I've seen some cynical reporting saying that the program isn't doing as well as we want. I don't know. If you don't think that's good, I want to know what you think is good. But we're off to a good start around the world. What we found is here in India, almost 1 million people now have access to the internet because of these efforts who didn't before. What we find is that in the places that have access to these free basic services, the rate of people getting on the internet doubles. Right? So we've started it in some areas, and it hasn't expanded throughout the whole country yet. So in the areas that have it, internet growth rate is twice as much as it was before. So that's the main message that I deliver. Is this is a program that is working around the world. We just started in India a bit earlier this year, so it's still a bit earlier in its growth. But we know that this works, and we know that it will connect more people. In terms of how exactly it works, you kind of need to break down. There are about 4 billion people in the world who don't have access to the internet. And they kind of break down into there are 3 reasons why people might not have access. One is we call availability, right? You might have a phone, but there's no network that's available for you to access. The second is affordability, right? Which is you have a phone and you might be able to access a network, but it's very expensive, or you might not be able to afford it. And the third issue, which is actually the biggest, interestingly, is awareness. And what that means is, you have a phone and you have access to and you can get access to the internet and you can afford it, but you may not know why you would want to use the internet. And if you grew up and you never had access to a computer and you never used the internet, and someone asked you if you wanted to buy a data plan, it's not a surprise that a lot of people's question is, well, what do I get with the data plan, right? Why would I want to spend some of the money that I have on getting a data plan? So we're doing things on all 3 of these to basically break down all of these barriers. On availability, there are a lot of places in the world where there just aren't good networks. It's too expensive to have the traditional internet infrastructure spread all the way out to a lot of these very rural areas. So we're investing in new ways to deliver connectivity. Solar-powered planes that can fly up in the air and beam down connectivity. We just announced a project to put a satellite up in space that can beam down connectivity. So those are new ways to deliver connectivity. The second, for affordability, we're very focused on just making it so that our apps and others use less data. Right? So if you go back about a couple of years, the Facebook app now uses, I think it's about 1/10 of the amount of data as it used to. So that means that not only does it cost you 1/10 as much because you don't have to pay for that data, but it's also faster and more reliable because there's less to transfer over the wire. So that's a big deal. And then the third issue of awareness, what we've done is we've tried to introduce this program, Free Basics. And what that does is it makes it so that people can have access to some not the richest kind of media, not streaming videos or big app downloads, the stuff that kind of consumes a lot of bandwidth, but the basic utilities. So stuff like education information or health information or job listings or Wikipedia or basic communication tools or basic news. And what we found is that ends up being very useful. People use those things, they get on the internet, and then within about a month, about half of the people who have tried out Free Basics now realize why the internet is so great and why they want to use it, and then they become full paying customers of the full internet. So the goal of Free Basics is not just to provide free basic services to everyone, but it's also to give people this on-ramp so that way they can start experiencing that and then eventually and relatively quickly start paying for the overall internet. So that's the game plan. We're going to work on all 3, availability, affordability, and awareness. It's already working around the world. 15 million people now have access to the internet who wouldn't have otherwise. And we're still early, so it's growing, and we expect a lot more to come soon.
So this is a question which lots and lots of people want answers to. It's one of the top voted questions on the thread. And I think it's a serious one, deserving a serious answer.
All right.
And this is, I seriously don't want to get any more invitations on Candy Crush. How can I stop getting it?
There you go. All right. So this is where these town hall Q&As are really useful. Because I actually saw this question, that it was the top voted question on my thread. So I sent a message to the person who runs the team in charge of our developer platform. And I said, by the time that I do this town hall Q&A, I think it would be, we had a solution to this problem. So we do. So she emailed me like later that night and was like, all right, look, there are some tools that are kind of outdated that allow people to send invitations to people who have never used a game and have gotten a lot of invitations in the past, but don't play games on Facebook. And we hadn't prioritized shutting that down because we just had other priorities. But if this is the top thing that people care about, then we'll prioritize that and we'll do it. So we're doing it.
Okay, audience question. Who wants to ask a question? Okay, I'll come there in a bit. What's your name?
My name is Shashwat. Yeah. Hi, Mark. I am Shashwat, and I lead the technology team at holidify.com. So my question was related to the technology that you guys are working on, the Oculus Rift. So I wanted to know that how guys you have decided to are you guys planning to incorporate that somehow to the social media? And the second part of my question is, how can, as a developer, will be able to get more of that information, and how can we use that technology into our stuffs and we can work on that?
Absolutely. So for your second question first, we have dev kits for Oculus. You can already get them. It's a few $100s, and we're shipping them all around the world. We've shipped more than, I think it's more than 100,000 or almost 200,000 dev kits. So you can get your hands on one. You can start building for Oculus. It's an awesome experience, and I encourage you to do that if you're interested. In terms of how this fits into the overall vision, one of the big trends that we've seen on Facebook and on the internet overall is that as time goes on, people get these richer and richer mediums for sharing what's important to them. So if you go back 10 or 15 years, most of what we shared on the internet was text, right? And over the last 5 or 10 years, now a lot of it is photos. And it's visual, and so photos, other kind of graphical content. Over the next period of time, we're really, I think, entering this golden age of internet video, where the primary way that we're going to both share our experience and consume other people's kind of experience and ideas online is going to be through video. So you've seen this progression from text to photos that were graphic but static to videos that are now kind of animated and richer. But I don't think videos are the end of the line, right? Because as rich as a video is in terms of telling a story, it's it's still just small screen. It's still 2D, and I think that people want an even richer medium, right? You want to be able to feel like you're there. And that's what virtual reality and augmented reality can do. They can make it so that you actually feel like you're right there in the scene. So, my wife and I are expecting a daughter sometime soon. And one of the things that I look really forward to doing is, traditionally people, write to their, thank you, by the way. I'm very excited about that as well. People will, write to their parents, oh, our baby had her first steps, or, you take a photo, or more recently, you take a video. I want my family to be able to be there, right? So to take a video or capture that experience of her taking her first steps, and then to be able to share that experience and make it so that my parents, my friends who weren't maybe able to be there in person, can feel like they're there and experiencing that and seeing her do that and take those steps. And that, I think, is going to be really magical. So in terms of how this fits into the overall vision of social media, just as time goes on, the trend is towards richer and richer communication. And I think at some point in the future, it's going to take maybe 5 or 10 years to really develop before this is a very big thing that a lot of people are doing. I think that this is going to be something where you can capture these scenes and you can share them in your feed or on WhatsApp, just like you share a photo or text today, and you'll be able to pass around these things which are going to be very close to real life experiences that we have. And I think that's going to be pretty amazing. I'm really excited about that.
So we have the first student question here. Rachit, what's your question?
Hey, Mark. Thank you for coming to IIT Delhi. It's a great honor for us. And my name is Rachit. I'm a student here. So Facebook and me is investing a lot in AI with the opening of Facebook AI Research Lab in Paris and other university collaborations. So what are some of the future products we can expect from Facebook in this regard?
Yeah, so AI is a really exciting area of development. I think about it, we have this goal that in 5 to 10 years, we want to be able to build computer systems which can be better at the main human senses than people are, right? So can see better, right? Can kind of recognize people or things in the world, can kind of track as we travel through the world, can hear better, can translate language better, can understand language, right? All these things which are kind of basic human senses. Now, it's important to differentiate that. That does not mean that we're going to have computers that are smarter than people anytime soon. For a long time, we've been able to build computers that can do specific tasks better than people, but I still think we're very, very far off from having computers which are generally more intelligent in any way. So this is one step on kind of the path to delivering great services. And the type of stuff that we're going to see is it's less that it's going to be completely new products, and it's more going to be that there's this increasing intelligence through a lot of the different things that we do. So let me give you 2 examples. So one is, this is something that we actually just launched in the last week or 2, is we take accessibility features on Facebook very seriously, right? So for people who are blind or can't see the service, we want to make sure that they can experience the moments that their friends are sharing with them. So one of the things that we can do now is if you're blind and you can't see a photo, we can have our AI look at the photo and figure out what's in it and then read an explanation of what is in the photo to you. So here's the person who's in the photo, they're riding a bike, here's the scene, here's what's going on. It's not 100%, it'll improve and it'll keep on getting better in the future, but I think that that's a really cool thing that you can do when you have computers that can see the world in the way that people do. And that's the type of thing that I'm really excited about. A second example. So I talked about Safety Check earlier, connected to the earthquake here. And right now, the best way for people to know that their friends and loved ones are safe are to either have yourself mark yourself as safe, or for you to mark your friend as safe, and then for us to distribute that out to the people who are going to care, right? So your friends and family. In the future, I think that it's going to be possible, with satellites and things like that, to be able to identify who is in an area and know immediately who is safe, who needs help. Today, a lot of what we do is, for people who are going in for relief efforts, they look at maps and they see where the areas that are affected are. But, is that the kind of thing that a computer could do better than a person in the future? Probably, right? And that'll save people's lives. And that's the type of stuff that I think making it so that computers can see better and can hear better are just going to unlock all this value for the world and are going to save lives, are going to make a lot of content more accessible, and just improve a lot of the things that we do already to a large degree. So that's what I'm really excited about there.
We have a question here from you, Mohit.
Hi, Mark. Welcome to India.
Thanks.
My name is Mohit from Delhi. I'm working as a software testing engineer. My question is how Facebook help those people who are living in India below poverty line, and role of Facebook in uneducated people.
Wait, sorry, I didn't catch the last part.
How can you help illiterate people who are sort of grappling with education, formal education challenges? Yeah.
So this is a really interesting area. Facebook, our mission is giving people the power to share and making the world more open and connected. But I also spend some time thinking about what the impact is that I can have outside of Facebook as well. And I've focused a lot of my time on learning about the education system, both in the US and increasingly worldwide as well. And we've done a few big projects, starting off in a city called Newark, New Jersey. And we started that about 5 years ago. And one of the things that I'm proud of is that already in just the few years since we got started, the graduation rate in that city has increased, I think it's from 56% to now 69%. So there's still a lot of room for improvement, but I mean 13%, yeah, no, I mean I'm really excited about that too. 13% in just a few years of work, where that means that whatever improvements were made in the schools, all the students who are going through that haven't really even gone through the whole system with those improvements, already up 13%. I mean, that's a big deal. So that was kind of the first set of things that we did. And then after that, we took on other initiatives, including working in our home in the Bay Area in California to take what we learned from that experience in Newark and double down on the things that worked well, creating new school models, funding the parts that worked really well in the public schools there. And that one is newer, so that's only a year, 2 years old, but we're already really excited about the results that we're starting to see there as well. Internationally, we have a few investments in creating new types of schools throughout Africa and hoping to spread that to India sometime soon as well. But, I mean, there are a lot of people in the world who don't have access to good educational tools. And this is one area where I think not only being able to spread access to good schools, but this is an area where connectivity and access to the internet is really going to be able to help out a lot as well. Because, for all the people who don't have access to a good school, being able to have some basic access to educational resources online is going to make a really big deal in people's lives. So that's a pretty big focus for me. The other area that I'm increasingly interested in is really health and science, right? I mean, one of the things that strikes me is, we have all this amazing technology, and the world is getting better and better at such a fast rate. And, we've only really, as a civilization, been really focused on curing the diseases that face us for probably about 100 years, maybe a little bit less even. And, one thing that I think is a little bit crazy, you look around the world, I mean, in the US, there's the stat that the US government spends about 50 times as much money trying to treat people who are sick as it spends trying to cure the diseases in the first place, that people don't get sick. And I think that that's pretty similar if you look at the exact stats around the world. I don't know exactly what the stats here are in India, but I think that there's a really big opportunity to change that, right? And for our generation of folks to say, hey, the world is getting better at a very fast rate. And instead of just looking at the status quo around this, we should be shifting more of our resources towards longer-term investments that can actually try to cure all these diseases, right? So that way, I don't know if they'll all be cured in our generation or maybe not even in our kids, but I do think we can make a big dent, and maybe, in our kids' lives or their kids' lives, we can create a world where people don't have to suffer from the kind of diseases that there are today. So those are some pretty big things that I think we should be trying to take on as a generation around the world. And if we can make a big impact, then that'll be really, really a big deal.
We have a question here, and
Where'd you go?
yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Hi, Mark. This is funny.
All right. It is.
My question seems to be funny also. So my question for you is, if Mark is gifted some supernatural powers from some aliens, what powers would Mark wish for, and how would he use for the betterment of world?
It's a good question. All right, so one of the great things about technology is you actually can build superpowers for people in the world. And that's some of the stuff that I think is really exciting. So when I think about what we're doing with Oculus, for example, I think that what we're really enabling is people to teleport, right? You're going to be able to put on a headset and go anywhere you want in the world. You'll be able to go to places that are impossible to go to in the world. I mean, one of my favorite recent demos from Oculus is, you put on the headset and you're in this room with someone else who has the headset on somewhere else that can be in a completely different place, and there's this table in front of you. Of course, it's virtual, and there's a ping pong paddle on it, and you can pick up the ping pong paddle and you can start playing ping pong with the other person. And it just feels pretty awesome. It's like, all right, well, I might be in a completely different location from them, but we can kind of teleport and come together. And, but that's only the beginning, because then where it really starts is you can then, in that experience, you can dial up and down gravity. So you can simulate, you can turn off gravity, and you can simulate what it would be like to play ping pong with a friend in space, or underwater. Or you can make it, anti-gravity. So that way, the ball floats away and you have to hit it down in order to make it so that it doesn't go away. So, I mean, that's pretty crazy, right? And in the future, I think, not too far out, we're going to have the ability to just put on a basic headset and instantaneously go anywhere in the world that you want. And that is going to be pretty good.
We have a question here from Miriam on internet.org and net neutrality. I'll let her ask.
Good afternoon, Mark. I'm Miriam George, Assistant Professor from CMR Institute of Technology, Bangalore. And I see that internet.org is actually a great initiative which provides a lot of opportunities. However, there's been a lot of discussion and talks on net neutrality and internet.org. So my question is, does internet.org support net neutrality fully, let's say 100%, without any filtering?
Yeah, absolutely. So, net neutrality is an important principle, right? And we do a lot to support it, both in terms of pushing for regulation that kind of enables this, and I mean also just in our own work, building an open platform that any developer can build something for, regardless of who they are, as long as they kind of follow the basic rules of what internet.org is. So, let me kind of explain and go into detail on both of these. So in terms of regulation, now I think a lot of why there's this net neutrality debate here in India and in a lot of places around the world is countries are just kind of going around and figuring out what they want their regulation to be for the internet and for net neutrality. The US, I think it was either earlier this year or last year, put in place rules that had pretty strong net neutrality regulations that we gave our support for and suggested that there were kind of very clear rules on net neutrality that got put into place. And now kind of following that, a lot of other countries are also figuring out exactly what rules they want, and we're generally supportive of that across the world as well. In terms of open platform, there have been a lot of stories here in India that suggest that what we're trying to do with internet.org is just have a small set of internet services that people can use and kind of somehow make it so that people can't have access to the rest. And that really couldn't be further from the truth. What we're trying to do is, we realize that the internet is expensive to provide, right? I mean, the operators all collectively spend billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on this infrastructure, and you can't just provide the whole internet for free. But what we have figured out is we can do this free basics program that make it so that any developer who meets the definition of a basic service, so not very high bandwidth, no rich videos or big file downloads, but any developer is doing something that's basically text, pretty low bandwidth, not directly cannibalizing a lot of the operator business. Anyone can kind of offer their services for free, and it will be zero rated through the free basics platform that we have. And that, I think, has been very powerful, and it provides this neutral platform where we're not being a filter on any of the content that goes into that. And I think that that's really important and really good. So, net neutrality overall, it's this is an important topic, right? I mean, it's really important that we have regulations that prevent companies and people from doing things that are going to hurt people, right? And I think it's really clear if you look at what the regulations are trying to prohibit, where that hurts people and where it doesn't, right? So, so if you're a person, you're trying to, watch some videos on YouTube or Netflix, and an operator wants to charge you more to do that than something else, then that's bad. I mean, that hurts people, It prevents your ability to access content. It's a violation of net neutrality, and that's the type of thing that we should have regulations that prohibit. If an operator is trying to advantage their own service, right, by making you pay more for something else, then that's the kind of thing you can see why that hurts people, and you want net neutrality regulations in place that are going to prevent that. But at the same time, it is possible to take this too far, right? And some of the people who are advocating for net neutrality regulations also advocate that you shouldn't be able to do any kind of zero rating or free services at all. But when I look at this, I see, if you have a student who is getting free access to the internet to be able to help do her homework, and she wouldn't have had access otherwise, who's getting hurt there? Right? I mean, that's good. Right? We want that. There should be more of that. If there's a fisherman in a village who now has some free access to the internet to help sell some of his fish and provide for his family, no one gets hurt by that. Right? We need the internet. The good news here is that around the world, all the regulations that are put in place are basically honoring this principle, right? So good net neutrality provisions, kind of blocking things that operators might do that kind of hurt people, but also prioritizing things like zero rating that are necessary for making sure that we can connect everyone to the internet. So the US regulations that I mentioned earlier, very clear on this. Very strong net neutrality provisions, completely separate in terms of how they treat zero rating and not blocking zero rating at all, right? So, and that's a country where most people have access to the internet. It's not like India where 1 billion people don't have access to the internet, and even more innovation is necessary to expand on that. I think it's just this week, the EU just released rules on net neutrality and zero rating, where again, they put in place some net neutrality rules, very clear that zero rating and things that provide some free access to the internet are kind of clear to go, and are going to be regulated separately and are not prohibited by any of the net neutrality regulations. So that's my view on this. Internet.org and Facebook 100% support net neutrality. We lobby for it across the world. We build an open platform with no filtering. You guys should count on us to be supportive of that. But at the same time, I think we should all make sure that we also continue to push for access, because that is extremely important. And I'll leave you with one thought on this, which is that most of the folks who are pushing for net neutrality have access to the internet already, right? So I see these petitions going around net neutrality, and that's great, right? I mean, we need to mobilize on the internet to push for this stuff. But the people who are not yet on the internet can't sign an online petition pushing for increased access to the internet, right? Yeah, and I think that this is a really key point. I think we all have a moral responsibility to look out for people who do not have the internet and make sure that the rules that kind of benefit us and make sure that operators can't do anything that hurt us don't get twisted to hurt people who don't have a voice. So.
Mark, you were at Taj yesterday. Somebody posted on your wall. Did people recognize you? Do you want to share some of your Taj experience with everybody and whether you're recognized or not?
The Taj was great. I mean, it's one of the few places in the world that you see pictures, but then you go, and it's actually even more awesome there than any of the pictures look. There aren't a lot of places like that. And it's fitting because you travel around the world and there are all these monuments that are built for governments, celebrating military victories or religion. And the Taj is unique because it's a monument to love. And I think that's special. And I mean, that's a meaningful thing. So I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that I got a chance to go. Too often I travel around and I go to different countries and I have so many different meetings and events. So I go to these places that have such a rich culture and I spend my whole time inside conference rooms. And let me tell you, no matter what city you go to in the world, conference rooms look pretty similar. But so I just felt very lucky that I had the opportunity to take a few hours to head to Agra and see that. As for whether someone recognized me, there's one girl I feel bad for, who's trying to take a photo of me and wiped out and fell off the sidewalk into a bush. And now, fortunately, she didn't get hurt. I kind of gave her a pat on the back, and I was like, you got to be more careful. It's a dangerous business trying to take a photo of me. But yeah, good times.
Okay, on that note, we'll take an audience question. I'm going to go to a girl.
Hi, I am Anant, and I am a fourth-year student at IIT Delhi itself. Firstly, we welcome you to IIT Delhi. We are really proud as well as lucky to have you here. My question is, what was your eureka moment when you actually founded Facebook? And you are really very young, but there would be many challenges as well. But what's the main driving force which keep you not away from the track? And this is my question, and the suggestion regarding the healthcare is because now we are all of us using the all of us are using the smartphones. So there are many apps which can detect blood pressure as well as many other things. So in Facebook itself, we can use some sensors and something like that, which could make us
All right. It's a pretty good compound question. First of all, a couple of you have mentioned that it's great to have me here. I feel so honored to be here, and I know that there's even more folks who'd wanted to come here who didn't have the chance, and so next year we'll just need to do it in a stadium or something. I don't know. In terms of getting started with Facebook, here's the thing. It wasn't so long ago that I was a student and sitting in a seat in an auditorium like you guys are here today, listening to. I remember very specifically this time when Bill Gates came to talk at Harvard, and I was just like, wow, how do you do that? But the trick is that the media likes to sensationalize this as if you have some eureka moment or you are some singular person who can build something on your own, and that's just not how the world works. When I was in school, I built a lot of stuff that I just liked building. There was not a single moment when I had some revelation that Facebook was going to be awesome. That's not maybe how the media or movies or whatever would like to portray things. It's much less exciting. But the reality is, I think most services in the world that reach the scale that Facebook has, you start off building something that you care about, and you don't necessarily think it's going to be that big. I didn't. I built Facebook, the first version of Facebook, for my college community because I wanted to be able to connect with the people at my school. And I remember very clearly talking to my friends at the time and saying, how cool is it that we have built this community for our school? One day it's going to be awesome when somebody else builds this for the world because something like this needs to exist for the world. But it didn't even occur to me that my friends and I might be able to play a role in doing that, right? Because we were college students, right? We didn't have any engineers to work with or servers or resources or anything like that. And there are these huge companies that deliver products for hundreds of millions of people, right? I always assumed that it was going to be like Microsoft or Google or someone would build this for the world. And what basically just happened is at each step along the way, we just kind of kept doing the next thing and growing from there. And there were teams inside these other companies that thought social media was important and were working on it. But there were all these different memes and narratives in the world. People would say, oh, well, this is just a fad. People are going to use it, but then they're going to stop. So, so a lot of the teams who were working on didn't take it that seriously, or the higher ups in those companies didn't care, so they didn't get resources, and we just kept going and going. And then people would say, all right, fine, so maybe people are using it, but it's never going to make any money, right?